Hello everyone, welcome to BISP Solutions. I am Preeti, working as Oracle Fusion Functional and PPM consultant. So we will start today with the billing setups that we require to be done in the application. And there were two tasks that were left yesterday because instance was not working. So first we will see those tasks and then we will start with project billing based functional area setups. Let's move directly to our application. Go to setup and maintenance. In the setup area, select project financial management. In the functional area, you have to select project contracts. This was the task that we were not able to proceed further with. Click on this task, that is specify customer contract management business function. So these are the setup that you need to select as per your business requirement. Whether you want to enable the contract for the multi-currency transaction, if yes, then you have to enable this checkbox. Here you can select that is allow related customer accounts. When you enable this checkbox, it allow you if billing is at other customer and shipping is at other customer level, but both are related, then in that case you can enable this checkbox. When shipping and billing are at different customer level, then you have to allow this checkbox if those customers are related. Now what should be the conversion rate type if you are using the multi-currency transaction in your contracts? What should be the conversion date type? Here you have to select the date. This setup is also related when you are using the multi-currency option. This is for invoice and this is for revenue. Now here you can see the area that is project billing. As I told you, when we are integrating from the project module to AR module, we transfer the revenue from the project module to AR module. So for that you have to enable this checkbox. And if you are billing to the external customer, then you have to associate your transaction source here, that is contract invoice. And if you are billing internally, then you have to associate your transaction source that you have created for the internal purpose, that is contract internal billing. Now click on cancel. We did not make any changes. Our next task is manage common CRM business unit profile options. So by default, system will select the business unit that you will mention in this task. Click on edit icon. You can see here by default which business unit you want. Here it is selected as Supremo US business unit. So let's take the business unit in which we are working. This is the one. And then click on save and close. So when you are talking about this task, this will allow you to access only specific contracts which are related to this business unit which you have selected in this task. Like if you are selecting here US 1 business unit, then you will be only able to access the contracts which are specifically related to this business unit. If you are using multiple business unit in your system, then in the next task you have to select yes in the site level, then only you will be able to use multiple business unit. . 。  . 。 . 。 . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . 。 . . . . . . 。 . 。 . . . 。 . . . . 。 . 。 . 。 . . . 。 . . 。 . 。 . 。 click on edit icon. If you are selecting yes in the profile value, then you will be able to use multiple business units. If you will select no, then you will only be able to access the contracts which are related to US 1 business unit that you have selected in your first task. So I want to use multiple business units, so I am taking it as yes here. Now click on save and close. Now we will proceed further with the billing setups. As I told you, when we are integrating from the project module to AR module, we need to create the contract, and for that purpose we did the configurations related to contract. Also in the billing base we need to do some more configurations, and at the time of creation of contract you have to associate these configurations at contract creation level. Let's move to our PPT. So these are the setups that you need to configure for the project billing purpose. You have to create the manage events type, then you have to select your billing cycle, then you have to select invoice methods, revenue methods, you have to select the invoice formats, and also you have to configure the auto accounting rule. Let's start with the event type here. Event type determines whether a billing event is used to invoice a customer or for recognizing revenue or for both. If you are using any event type, it can use for invoicing a customer, also it can use for recognize revenue, and also derive accounting in subledger accounting for event based invoice and revenue entries. So we can have three type of projects. First is fixed amount based project. In the fixed amount based project, customer has see, for example, customer has given you 5 lakh rupees, and now you have to do the work for those 5 lakh rupees. This is the fixed amount. And if you are taking the second project like time and material, here you are billing your customer on the basis of hours your resource has given to the project. And third is percentage complete, where on the basis of completion percentage of work the event will be created, and this process will be automatic. When you are taking fixed amount based project and time and material, in that case you will use the manual event types, and in the case of percentage completion, system will automatically take the event on the basis of percentage completion. Now we will move to our application and we'll see how to create the event type in the application. So in the setup area, project financial management, you have to select the project billing base as functional area, under which you will find the manage event type. Click on this task. Now click on add icon. So we have to create the event type for the fixed amount based projects and time and material projects, and for the percentage completion project, the system will take this automatically, but for the fixed based and for the time and material we have to create the manual event type. Now select the revenue category here. In the last series of webinar, I have already told you how to create the revenue category. Now you want to use this event type for which purpose, whether you want to use it for the revenue purpose, for the invoice purpose, or for both. So in my case I am using it for both purpose. whether you want to allow any adjustment to be created with this event type. If yes, then you have to enable this checkbox. If you are using this event type for any migration process, then you have to enable this checkbox. Now our next checkbox is allow item. Yesterday, while creating the contract line, you have seen there were two type of lines that we can create for the project purpose. One is free form that are related to the services, and the another one was item based that are related to the inventory. So if you are using inventory, then you can allow this checkbox. You have to enable this. So I am creating the projects which are service based, so I am not enabling this checkbox. Here you can give the from date and end date. Giving the start date is mandatory. Also, if you want to classify some text code at the business unit level, then here you can select the business unit and give the text classification code. Click on save and close. Now our next task is manage billing cycle. Billing cycle determines the frequency and dates for invoicing contract and contract lines. Define billing cycle to meet your business requirement. Assign billing cycle to bill plan. So while creating the contract, you have to associate your billing cycle. So let me show you the contract where you can associate these task configurations. Go to the contract management here and then go to the contracts. Select the contract type here. This user is not a resource. So my user is not searching here. let's try logging with different user. So this user is already a resource. Now we will try to create the contract with this user. Go to contract management and then click on contracts. Click on create contract. Now in the billing tab, in the bill plans you can associate your invoice method, and the revenue plans you can associate your revenue method, and here you can select the soft limit and hard limit. This will be defined as per the limit that you have given while creating the contract type. So while creating the contract, you have to associate the task that you are configuring in the project billing base functional area. So this is the basic use of configuring those setups. Move back to the project billing base setups. Go to manage billing cycles. Now these are the already defined billing cycles. For creating your billing cycle, you have to click on this create icon. I want billing cycle to run at the last day of the month. Now click on save and close. Our next task is to create the revenue method. We create the revenue method to determine how revenue amounts are calculated for contracts. So there are 6 types of revenue method, on the basis of which you can recognize the revenue for your contracts. First is amount based. In the amount based revenue method, it recognizes revenue as billing events are completed. By the time your billing events are completed, system will recognize the revenue. Next is as billed. Here it will recognize the revenue as customers are invoiced. By the time you will bill your customer, system will recognize the revenue. Recognize revenue as customer are invoiced using a common set of bill rates, a burden schedule or transfer pricing for both invoicing and revenue. As incurred. Here it will recognize the revenue as costs are incurred. So by the time you incur any of the costs for that contract, system will recognize the revenue. Recognize revenue as costs are incurred using a revenue specific set of bill rates, a burden schedule or transfer pricing for both invoicing and revenue. Next is percent complete. Here recognize revenue based on project progress of a contract line or associated project. When you select the percent complete revenue method classification, the percent complete billing extension is automatically added to the revenue method. The extension automatically creates a billing event. As I told you, for the percent complete, we don't need to create any event type as it is automatically created by the system. So there is billing extension which is associated with this percent complete revenue method, and the extension automatically creates a billing event with the percent spent revenue amount for a contract line or for the project associated to the contract line. Next is percent spent. Here it recognizes revenue as progress is calculated based on actual cost to date over budget cost. When you select the percent spent revenue method classification, the percent spent billing extension is automatically assigned to the revenue method. The extension automatically creates a billing event with the percent spent revenue amount for a contract line. When we will create revenue method, there you will see when we will select the revenue method type as percent spent, system will automatically take the billing extension, and on the basis of that it will create event type automatically. Now next is rate based. It recognizes revenue as costs are incurred using a revenue specific set of bill rates, a burden schedule or transfer price rates. Use this revenue method classification if you are using a fixed price for invoices, or if you require different burden schedule for invoices and revenue, you can also use this revenue method classification. If the invoice method classification for a bill plan on the same contract line is percent complete or percent spent. How you want to recognize the revenue when your invoice method or your revenue method is different? In that case, you can use the rate based. Now we will move to our application to see how we can create the revenue method in the application. Click on this task, that is manage revenue method. So these are already created revenue methods. Click on add icon. give the name of your revenue method here. Now system provides you with the revenue method classification, so you have to associate your revenue method with this classification. You can see here there are 6 type of classification, that is amount based, as billed, as incurred, percent complete, percent spent and rate based. So associate your revenue method with this classification. Now here you can select the extension based or process configurator based. Here you can select the status as active or inactive, and if you are using this revenue method for intercompany billing, then you can enable this checkbox. Now what should be the calculation level, whether you want to calculate the revenue on the basis of project or contract line, you can select here. Now click on save and close. You can also use the standard one that are provided by the Oracle. Now here you will see when we will select revenue method classification as percent complete, system will automatically take it here as extension based. And you can see here the billing extension assignment is coming as percent complete revenue by default. The same happened with the person spent method classification. Select here rate based, and here you can select the rate schedule type. Normally we use bill rate. You can select as per your business requirement, bill rate, burden rate or cost reimbursable. Let's take it as bill rate and then click on save and close. So these are the revenue methods that we have created now. Let's move to our next task, that is invoice method. Create invoice methods to determine how invoice amounts are calculated on contracts. So in the invoice methods we have 4 type of classification, that is amount based, percent complete, percent spent and rate based. So in the amount based, it generates invoices as billing events are completed. So by the time billing events are completed, system will generate the invoice. The second is percent complete. Here it generates invoice based on the project progress of a contract line or associated project. Next is percent spent. It generates invoice as progress is calculated based on actual cost to date over budget cost. In the last one, that is rate based, it generates invoice as costs are incurred using an invoice specific set of bill rates, a burden schedule, or transfer price rates. So we will move to our application and we will create 4 types of invoice method in the application. This is the task, that is manage invoice methods, and these are the standard created by Oracle. Now for creating new invoice method, you have to click on this create icon. Now in the invoice method classification, you will be able to see all 4 classification here. You have to associate this method classification with your invoice method. The rest of the functionalities are same. Here you can select the calculation level and then click on save and close. You can see here that system has automatically taken it as extension based. On the basis of this, system will automatically generate the event. Now click on save and close. So generally we use bill rate, but there is one case where you have to select this as burden. So right now I am saving it and we will discuss that case. Click on save and close. So in this way we can create the invoice methods. Let's move to our PPT. You can see the combination on the screen. When in invoice method you are taking rate based, you can see rate based schedule for labor and non-labor. Normally we select the bill rate, but while creating the contract, if you are using both rate based type of revenue method and invoice method, then in the invoice method you have to select the burden only. Say I am taking it as rate based. Then there is some contract where I am using the revenue method, that is also rate based, and in the invoice method it is also rate based. Then we have to select labor schedule as burden here. Then in invoice method you have to select the burden, then only it will work. If you will select the bill rate, then it will not work. So you have to keep in mind this combination, that when you are using rate based revenue method and rate based invoice method in the contract, then you have to select in the labor schedule type as burden, and also in the non-labor schedule type it should be selected as burden. In rest of the combination you can select the bill rate in the invoice method. Our next task is manage invoice format. Create invoice formats to determine how Oracle Fusion Project Billing creates invoice lines. Configure different invoice formats for labor, non-labor and even invoice line items, and specify if you want to use the format for customer invoices, internal invoices or both. So in the invoice format you will create three type of formats, that is labor, non-labor and event. Click on all task here. This is the task, that is manage invoice formats. Click on add icon. Now when you have to use the labor invoice format, if you are using the rate based, then you have to go for labor and non-labor invoice format. If you are using the fixed bid project, then we can go with the event based invoice format, and if we are creating the percentage completion contract, then also we will go with the event based invoice format. So for that purpose we have to create three different type of invoice formats. In the case of rate based, we will use labor or non-labor invoice formats, and in the case of fixed bid project or percent complete, you can use event type invoice format. You can select here the format type as labor, give the effective start date here, on which basis you want to do the grouping. Let's take it as contract line all. Whether you want to use this for external customer invoice purpose or for internal invoice purpose or for both, whether you want to use it as fixed format. So I want to use it for customer invoice purpose. Now from 1 to 10 end position, now what you want to see in your invoice format, select it from here. Let's take it as bill transaction currency. From 11 to 20, it will display the total hours. Work type name, so here you are giving how your invoice format for the labor transaction should look like. Now click on add icon. Create the invoice format for the non-labor. Select non-labor in format type. Give the effective start date. any text, then you can select the text here. You have to give the text in the text field. Click on add icon and create the invoice format for event. Give the start position here. Give any text, then select the field name as text. So we have created the invoice formats for all three purposes. Now click on save and close. Next task is manage auto counting rules, as we already discussed in our last session. So this is same as our last session. So this is the auto counting rules that we have seen in our yesterday session for the US1 business unit. In the same way, you have to create these rules, and these are same as the previous one. Now in the project type, when we create the project type, there is a billing indicator. We have to enable that checkbox. From there we will know that this project type is billable, as we are doing this configurations for the project which is billable. So for that we create the project type for the creation of project, and how we will, or how system will read that this project is billable. There is one checkbox that is billable, and we have to enable that checkbox. Then only system will be able to read that project as billable project. Now you can see here, this is enabled for the billing purpose. Then only that project will be able to generate the invoices. Click on this add icon. Now when you will create the project type, here you have to enable it for burdening, or if in case you are using your project type for burdening purpose also, then you have to enable it for burdening. And for the billable purpose, you have to enable this checkbox, that is enable billing. And same you have to do it for the work type. When you will click on this task, that is manage work type billing indicator, you can see here you have to create the work type, and then you have to enable this checkbox of billable. Then only system will be able to read it as billable work type. So today we discussed the setups which are related to the project billing base, and you have to associate these setups while creating the contract with your customer. So the basic need of creating these setups was that you have to associate the same while creating the contract. So tomorrow's session we will take how to create the project for the billable purpose. Thank you so much for joining today's session. Have a good day.